For industrial food processors, hospitality chains, and major retailers, the standard playbook of open market procurement works perfectly, right up until it hits one highly sensitive category of raw materials. Then, the entire system breaks down. Take perishable specialty crops. The moment a premium herb or leafy green is harvested, the clock starts. Due to gaps in the local cold chain and extended ambient temperatures, processors routinely pay for full shipments but lose up to 40% of the yield before it ever reaches the factory floor. Even when the product survives the journey, it often fails inspection. Industrial recipes demand exact specifications, a precise leaf size, specific water content, or a strict microbial profile. Open field farming struggles to hit these metrics consistently. This diagram illustrates the 4 distinct pressures crushing the modern supply chain. Perishability and specification mismatches are compounded by seasonal shortages and tied directly to the extreme volatility of dollar-denominated imports. You cannot solve these constraints by negotiating harder with brokers or signing longer offtake contracts. The crops are still being grown in environments you don't control, subject to weather patterns you can't predict. Because the open market is mathematically incapable of providing absolute reliability, industrial processors have to stop buying these inputs and start owning their production. We call this strategy managed backward integration. The physical solution is to take production indoors, make it vertical, and place it exactly where needed, directly adjacent to the factory door. But there's a trap. Many companies simply import standard, off-the-shelf greenhouses designed for temperate climates. Placed in a hot, humid environment, these expensive glass boxes quickly turn into sophisticated ovens, stifling the exact crops they are meant to protect. Building a resilient supply chain requires the integration of technology, agronomy, and multi-year management. Simply purchasing agricultural hardware is a starting point, but the actual value is created through a strictly gated 6-stage operational sequence. True resilience is found in the deep integration of technology and long-term oversight. Buying hardware alone does not solve the underlying procurement risk. This pathway graphic shows how the process begins. Stages 1 and 2 focus entirely on feasibility and design. We audit the factory's existing utility footprint and lock in a structural plan perfectly calibrated to the specific crop required. From there, we move into stages 3 and 4, procurement and installation. Instead of juggling multiple foreign and local vendors, the sourcing of the vertical towers and the execution of the civil works are managed as a single, transparent pipeline. During this build phase, fees are tied strictly to standard engineering, procurement, and construction management benchmarks. This aligns financial incentives from day one and eliminates the risk of open-ended consulting bills. The most critical handover happens in stages 5 and 6, agronomic establishment and operations. The practitioner takes control of the first grumming cycle, recruits the team, and establishes strict standard operating procedures. Once the facility is running smoothly, the relationship shifts into a multi-year performance contract. Management fees are directly tied to achieving precise, measurable yield and quality targets. Because this architecture is rigidly gated, corporate clients only unlock funding for the next phase of the project once the actual operational value of the previous phase is proven on the ground. When presenting a multi-million-dollar capital project, executive boards always ask the exact same question: who actually carries the risk? This matrix clearly defines the division of responsibility. On the left side, the corporate client provides the capital expenditure funding and retains 100% ownership of the physical asset. On the right side, the practitioner absorbs the operational burdens. We take on the execution risk, the threat of agronomic failure, and the responsibility for any ongoing yield shortfalls. This separation of powers allows industrial food processors to act as protected asset owners, securing their supply chains without ever having to learn how to be farmers. The end result is a fully commissioned, highly productive asset situated right on your property, reliably delivering up to 70% of your premium raw material requirements. The operational victories are immediate. Cold chain transit risk drops to 0, and the incoming product locks perfectly to your exact factory specifications every single day. For decades, the industry sacrificed perennial abundance for short-term annual convenience. By moving production into a highly controlled mechanical environment, we correct that imbalance. By combining the existing phytochemical profiles of native West African flora with the surgical precision of modern sensors, businesses are no longer building farms, they are designing self-sustaining ecosystems. For serious industrial players, relying on the weather to dictate supply chain stability is no longer an acceptable business practice. It is time to stop gambling on the open market and take full control of your raw material specifications. Initiate your Stage 1 site feasibility assessment today.